How's it going, everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out my channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be going over some of the brand new information in regards to Diablo IV. We've been getting closer and closer to the game's release date, and with that, the developers have been really active over on Twitter, answering a lot of the community's questions. So we're going to get into that today. We're also going to go over the latest controversy and the developers' response to the community. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing I want to go over is the fact that reviews are coming out for Diablo IV as of tomorrow. Rod Ferguson tweeted this out. He said, just 24 hours till Diablo IV reviews start landing, and 31 hours until preload begins. So as of tomorrow, you're going to see the news outlets and some big YouTubers and streamers that all got their hands on the game early. They're going to be giving you their impressions of Diablo IV. And somebody asked Rod, will the reviews have any story spoilers? And he said, not the ones that drop on the 30th. So you don't have to worry about watching any review videos tomorrow, because it sounds like there's a pretty strict NDA agreement where a lot of the people that played the game early aren't going to be allowed to talk about any story specifics. So up next, I want to talk about the big controversy that was going on in the community. I actually made a video covering this on my channel already, but for those of you that don't know, Diablo announced the other day on Twitter that they're doing this big contest in the community. They said, think you can cheat death, reach level 100 on hardcore mode, and tweet Diablo 4 hardcore with proof to have your username immortalized on the statue of Lilith. Offer limited to the first 1,000, restrictions apply. Get started on June 1st. And this had a lot of backlash in the community. A lot of people weren't happy about this because it gave an extreme unfair advantage to anyone that got to play the game early. Any reviewers or big streamers or big YouTubers that all got to play review copies of the game, they're obviously going to know where all the dungeons are, they're going to know the best farming locations, they're going to know the best builds, and even though all of their progress got wiped and they have to start fresh on day one just like everybody else, they do have an unfair advantage when it comes to this contest. So obviously people in the community weren't happy about this because you shouldn't get an advantage just because you have more subscribers than somebody else. And last night, the Diablo account and some of the developers actually had a response for the community. Here we have Rod Ferguson. He says, for those wondering about the Hardcore 100 challenge, those that played the review build over the last 2 weeks are not eligible. Good luck to those that try. I won't because I know I'm going to die. Plus, employees can't participate either. Then we have Adam Fletcher, who's the community develop director, and he said, good feedback from the community on this, so we made changes and updates to the rules to exclude anyone who took part in early review builds. So they did listen to the player feedback. They saw that people weren't happy about this contest. Now I have seen a lot of people in the community say that this should have just been delayed until season 1 starts, and it's not exactly fair to completely disqualify some of the most hardcore players, because a lot of the big streamers and Diablo dedicated YouTube channels are all hardcore fans of the game, and they're obviously going to want to participate in this contest, and it's not exactly fair to just completely disqualify them. So a lot of people were suggesting that we just delay the contest. Now unfortunately that's not how it works. Honestly, they probably don't even care about this contest. This contest is just a promotion to help promote the game and get people excited and hopefully squeeze out a couple more special editions from people, because they know if they have a contest like this and they know there's a time limit and there's only a certain amount of people that can get this award, then that might just be enough to push a couple people into buying early access and getting to play a little bit early so that they have a chance of winning this competition. It's all a big marketing ploy, and honestly, in the end, it doesn't even really matter. It's not that big of a deal, but I do think it's a good idea that they listened to the player feedback and they made it a bit more fair to the community. Alright, so up next, let's go over some of the community questions that have been answered by the developers over on Twitter. We have this question that was answered. It says, in Diablo 4, will non-seasonal characters be getting new content, or is it just new seasons we will have to play to experience this new stuff like gear, battle passes, in-game events, etc.? And Adam Fletcher responded saying, yes, things like new legendary powers and uniques from seasons will transition to the Eternal Realm after the seasons end. So those of you that don't like to participate in seasonal events and you just like to just straight up play the campaign, don't worry, anytime a season ends, a lot of that new content is going to just become a part of the main game afterwards. So that's definitely pretty cool. And then we have a similar response from Joseph. He says the Eternal Realm and the Seasonal Realm will be getting the same new legendary powers and unique items with each new season roll. So it's nice to see that they're catering to both the just casual players that like to play just the story mode and those that like to grind out every single new season. Then up next, we have another question from the same person. Am I able to go through the battle pass in the Eternal Realm? And then Joseph responded saying, no, the battle pass is tied to the progress made in the seasonal realm. So if you want to participate in the battle passes, you're going to have to play the seasonal content. Then we have yet another question from the same person. I'm assuming in Diablo 4 that the Eternal Realm players can't play with seasonal realm players unless they have a seasonal class. And then Joseph responded saying, you'll get to choose when making your character whether you want to play in the seasonal realm or the Eternal Realm. You'll play with folks who made the same decision. So this works the same as like Diablo 3. When you're making your character, you have to decide if you want to play a hardcore character or just a regular character, or if you want to participate in the new seasonal content. So nothing new happening in that regard. Then we have a different question. It says, regarding to the necromancer, might it be possible that corpses may only appear when an appropriate skill or item is being used? They can quickly clutter the ground. Thank you, Diablo 4. Then Joseph responded saying, we'd consider the idea of making them more transparent when the player hasn't selected any corpse utilizing abilities, but ultimately felt they were too important to see and make use of. And then he says that we'll be reading the feedback though. Now I like playing as the necromancer, and I can definitely see this complaint, especially if you're not using any of the skills that use up the dead bodies on the ground. It can very quickly cluster up your screen, especially if there's a lot of enemies all attacking you at once. It can get very crowded and look very cluttered. And you don't see all the bodies on the ground if you're playing as a different class. So I'm all for not being able to see all the dead bodies if you're playing as a necromancer and you're not using any skills that utilize the corpses, because there's literally no reason in seeing them if you have no abilities that can use them. And then we finally have this question that got answered. Any chance drops will be lowered for launch? I hope so, as I feel there were still too many legendaries on the ground. Then Joseph responded saying, we'll be evaluating the feedback and the data once the game goes live, but at the moment we're not planning on any major changes to the drop rates when the game goes live. So that's definitely a weird complaint that I'm not used to seeing, is somebody asking for less loot. But I didn't play the latest beta because it just came out at a weird time and I was covering Jedi Survivor, and then I went straight into covering Zelda on my channel. So I just didn't have time to play the latest beta, so I don't know how much the loot was dropping. But in the first beta I played, I didn't really notice that there was too much legendaries on the ground, and I mean, I'm not going to complain if I get better loot all the time. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how launch goes. And trust me, if people are getting way too many legendaries, that's going to be one of the very first things that they end up nerfing. So that is going to do it for everything in today's video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Let me know what class you guys are going to be maining when you finally get your hands on Diablo 4. I think I'm probably going to go with the barbarian or the necromancer first. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you guys don't miss out on any future Diablo 4 videos. And that is going to do it for me, everyone. And I will talk to you all next time.